Education for All. We're the hosts, Kelly Springer. Kelly, how are you? And today it's your turn. On the podcast, we've interviewed some really interesting people in a variety of areas involving health, nutrition, and educating people for sure. That's why it's Nutrition Education for All. And we're going to talk a little bit about the foundation. But let's first talk about Kelly's Choice. How did you start Kelly's Choice?
Well, Kelly's Choice was started 12 years ago, which is crazy to think about, and had done a little bit of everything in nutrition and was working at Wegmans food markets as an employee dietitian, employee wellness dietitian, and was going through divorce, two little kids, and was doing all the side hustle and found out there was a big need for nutrition in our community. So in 2012, I was doing everything from sports nutrition as the inside lacrosse dietitian, working at colleges, literally running 24/7 and just trying to make ends meet. And was able to start Kelly's Choice in October of 2012.
Okay. And tell us, what does Kelly's Choice do?
So because I was getting so much work, I couldn't do it all myself. So Kelly's Choice actually started as a collaborative of dietitians. And we still to this day just do nutrition education. We do not sell products. We do not sell anything but education. And we do that in the way of private practice with medical nutrition therapy, worksite wellness, and getting out to work sites across the country and delivering education, and also through media and representing food brands and products to help bring their messages to consumers.
Very interesting. So, talking about education, so when you talk about education, tell me more about that process. Tell me more about education, first of all, to the patient through how is that education done, so we know each one of the deliverables.
Well, I was very lucky, honestly. This sounds strange, but when I graduated with my BS in nutrition, I did not get into my internship program because 50% of graduating dietetic students do not. But I never in a million years didn't think I would get into the internship program. And I went and got my master's in health education. So you probably didn't know that I'm a certified teacher as well as a dietitian. So I didn't go back to get my RD until later on. But I think that being able to have that actual teaching certificate and going into the classroom and understanding lesson plans and relatability and what really drives that audience to listen to you was really helpful to have that master's. So, in the education platform for medical nutrition therapy, we really help our dietitians to understand how to be relatable, how to teach in a way that we're also listening back, and that's why it's really fun to be on these podcasts to listen to hear like other people's stories because everyone has a story, and really be relatable in the way of that private practice. In the way of corporate wellness, that's just fun. I mean, that's where I shine. That's where to be on a stage, to be able to do webcasts and presentations is so much fun to get those employees involved and engaged. And then on the media side, TV, presentations, education, social media. So I get to do a little bit of a mixture of all education across all three verticals.
So, for working with, let's just talk about, specifically enough the conference side of things. We're working in the corporate world. How do you work with the corporate world?
So we have a program called the Transformation Program. And I know it's a very generic word, but it truly has transformed people. And we've been using this program for 9 years now. So my mentor, Cindy DeBold, came to me and she said, "You talk all about carbohydrates and proteins and fats and all these different things. How about we put it together into a program?" So we now have a white paper on this program. We've seen thousands of people go through this program. And still today, we're getting it into work sites. So it's a 12-step program. It's 12 weeks in length. We do it live and also we record it. So we make sure that we cover all shifts and all locations for that employer group. And we really walk people through the education of nutrition from basics of carbohydrates to meal planning to dining out to mindful eating. And every single week, there is a nutrition exercise and hydration goal, which then ties back to the app we use. We actually use Healthy as an app, and people can track their nutrition value. They can track their exercise, their hydration, and their metrics. And there's also supporting education on that app as well. So it's a really holistic way to approach healthcare for those corporate wellness providers. And we also are covered by insurance. So we are in network with United Healthcare, Cigna, Aetna, the Blues, Medicare, Medicaid. And so we're able to use wellness dollars from the insurance companies to help cover the cost of these programs.
And that's great. And then you use education. And
Mhm.
part of you as a teacher, the education is there has to be outcomes. There has to be
Yes.
not just the objective has to be met.
That's correct. That's correct. And so, for so many of our self insured companies, this is very important because they are having to pay for those chronic conditions out of pocket. So, for hiring us, we're able to show a reduction in weight, blood pressure, A1Cs, and truly help to prevent and reverse chronic disease.
Wow. So interesting. And then lastly, the media, which seems really fun. I
Mhm.
mean, so like if you what kind of companies hire you to work with them in that one?
Oh, it has been a fun ride over the past decade of all the different companies that we've been able to support. So, for instance, one of the companies that's been with me the whole time is Lifeway Kefir. So, Kefir, do you know that? So, fermented beverage, and I've been able to do Good Morning America with them, do presentations, giveaways, support them in the way of we just were the representative for Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation. They were right there with me in the tent, helping to support us being there as well. So a company like that, or a New York State apples, if you go to applesfromny.com, you'll see my face, our company's work. We did all of the recipes, the toolkit for the dietitians in the retail space. So hundreds of brands over the past 10 years. And now really gaining strategic contracts with these companies so that we're able to help them on multiple levels, from dietitian ambassador programs, conferences that we attend and sampling, to developing all their media, social media. So it's really
Wow.
fun.
So
Mhm.
that you have the proper based on your being a registered dietitian to make sure that's the correct information, not then that's what corporations want, right?
That's
Somebody,
correct. So people always ask, they're like, well, is there a company that you wouldn't take? Well, it's funny because like Frito-Lay, for instance, isn't reaching out to me for me to represent, their potato chips. So it's mostly new technology, science-based foods, things that really have a nutrition impact, and they're trying to get that information to the consumer. So, in the way of digestive health, it could be like the different strands of probiotics. It's really interesting of what comes to us and why they want a dietitian to represent it.
well, and did you have to figure that out for yourself that they wanted a dietitian to represent it?
Well, yes. And in a lot of cases, I'm able to take the science that they're giving me and break it down into a way, again, a teachable way to the consumer. Because a lot of times they're so smart and they're in it and they're developing these products, but they don't really understand how to connect that to the consumer.
Wow. So there's the three different ways with Kelly's Choice. Anything else new to report for 2025 for Kelly's Choice?
Yes, just yesterday, our book was finally released on Amazon. It's called The New Weight Loss Era. I started in weight loss. I'm still like, that's my expertise. I love jumping into that space. And now that we have all of these GLP-1s and again, working in corporate wellness, self-insured companies are getting absolutely killed with the cost of Ozempic and Wegovy and Mounjaro. So with this book, we're really hoping that companies will have a little bit reprieve of incorporating our transformation program for these weight loss, um, methods. And,
Totally.
either if you're trying to take them, trying to get off of them, or just really wanting to understand nutrition, this book is for you. And we're just excited that it's taken 9 years basically to put together. And we're just
Wow.
really
That's
excited to have
exciting.
first book. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what does this book provide to kind of be an optional to those weight loss drugs? Because this is what's happening now, Kelly, in the weight loss industry. Before it used to be, weight loss shakes and working out. Now they have a thing where you don't have to do any of that. It's like the perfect, but this is very interesting. Alex Ramosi talked about this specifically enough. People want to get the results with the least amount of pain. And that's where the Ozempics of the world and all those, where they'll pay extra money or than the time it would take to go to the gym, work out, eat healthy, hire someone like yourself, do all those different things because that would be the best way. But the fast way is a pill.
Well,
And
and again, with my work in bariatrics, people have gone through a lot of things in their life. So we take the approach that we are not judging, no judging here. So if you're on them, trying to get off them, wherever you are in your journey, you still need nutrition education to be successful. And that's really our take on it, of kind of explaining like where we've been in weight loss. We had fen-phen, we had all the drugs that like bound fat. I mean, there's been all these different things that have come out, and now this is just the new thing, right? So, but with all of it, there really needs to be nutrition embedded in it. And for the first time ever, people can have their own personalized dietitian covered by insurance. And I think that is something that just hasn't been. A lot of people do have their own therapy. That's now been more, you know, utilized. And so now that insurance is covering the cost of dietitians, people can have their own personalized dietitian to help them through whatever they're going through.
you have to customize it as a dietitian, right? It's
You
it's
do.
not because each person's different.
And they grew up in different homes. They have different, nationalities. They have different religions. They have different work schedules. They have different family sizes. So much depends on all of those different factors, and making it very personalized to them does make the difference to kind of change their health. So,
Change it quickly. Then
mhm.
now, so some people might not know what a dietitian does, but in your book, do you highlight exactly what you do as a dietitian?
Yes, because when we're talking about carbohydrates or proteins or fats, again, it's very personalized. So if you're coming into us as a registered dietitian and you have celiac disease, our conversation about carbohydrates is going to be very different. We have to look for grains and whole grains that are gluten free and what that looks like and why, and teaching you why. Or if you're coming into us on the protein aspect and you are trying to follow a vegan diet, that is very specific. Or if you can't have different, proteins for different holidays because of your religion. So this is where, again, a registered dietitian can really work with you on that personalized level. This book is to give you the general aspects of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and can take you through the whole thing. And especially if you are taking GLP-1s, we do focus on how much of these like proteins that you need to be getting, so you don't have muscle wasting and all of that. But this is truly to get you kicked off and started, and the education you're going to learn is going to blow your mind.
I'm sure big time, right?
Mhm.
And I'm intrigued. So, what does a dietitian do? I'm going to ask that question because you said about different things and putting it all together, but what's the history of dietitians? I'm sure you talk about this in the book,
Yeah.
like to understand. I remember the four food groups and the thing that when I was in school, and
Yeah.
you got to have this many carbohydrates and this many fats and this many, vegetables, and if you stick to this, you're going to be great. Where no one wants to.
Well, it's interesting because dietetics really started like in the past when I first started in dietetics. You mostly graduated to go into clinical, which is in the hospital setting or long-term care. And there wasn't a lot of dietitians doing outpatient dietitian work because, once again, it was expensive and it wasn't covered by insurance. So, our group, we were one of the very first dietitian private practice groups that went nationwide. And we truly, like, if you came in to see us, we would go through an assessment to say, first of all, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, are you trying to run a triathlon or do that? Are you trying to, lose weight? Are you trying to gain weight? Are you trying to reverse maybe IBS or Crohn's or colitis? Like, where are you coming in? Like, what's going on with you? And also, like I said, assessing your whole family and like what's going on there too. Then from there, we would create these lessons that are going to be impactful for your life and truly educate you on how to put those practices into your daily routine. So we would start first, like I said, the second lesson would be carbohydrates. Like, what carbs are you eating? What grains do we have? How are we looking at fiber? So we give this great analogy, for instance, like carbohydrates are like a huge rainbow of all of these different foods. And one side is pot of gold, and one side of is angry leprechauns with knives in his hands. What's the difference? The difference is fiber. So I want you to go into your pantry right now. We're going to take out some of those food boxes. Are you getting pot of gold? Are you getting angry leprechaun with knives? And so little things like that, and you're like, holy crap, my entire pantry is angry leprechauns with knives. Okay, how are we going to get you onto pot of gold? And then we take you into protein, do the same thing. And then we take you into fats, do the same thing. So again, it's like each lesson is kind of building, but it's very precise to you.
So what if you're an intermittent faster? Do you work in that end as a do you believe in intermittent fasting?
We work with you wherever you're at. So again, the judgment is not there. So if someone is like, I believe very strongly in intermittent fasting, we'll go like, okay, then we are going to design some plans to work around that. So again, where's your hydration coming from? Where are your nutrients coming from? With this intermittent fasting, are you getting enough vitamins and minerals? Are you getting enough fiber? And maybe you're going too long in between that fast, right? How are we getting all those nutrients and vitamins your body needs to actually exist and survive? But again, it's not saying like intermittent fasting is bad or blood type diet is
Has
bad.
that has
Like,
that changed from the days of you as a dietitian before, where you would not say recommend certain diets
there
and
are
more?
still there are still a lot of dietitians out there that are the food police that definitely have their very strong opinions. And that is not helping anyone. So we really need to reach people where they're at. And we do train our dietitians. They get 10.5 continuing ed credits for coming on with us and truly teaching them about that relatability. I think that relationship and relatability is one of the number one pieces of being successful as a registered dietitian.
So for our listeners and viewers, if they decide, hey, you know what, I want to go ahead and hire a dietitian. So I go ahead and find that specific person. If my healthcare covers it, how many times do I meet with that dietitian in a is it monthly? Is it 3 times a year? How does that work?
To begin with, we'd like to see you weekly for at least 12 weeks. And then after that, monthly is appropriate. If things are going on, you need to come in more, that's fine. But usually we try to get through those 12 lessons to really give you a basis that's over a 3 month period, because then you're coming back to us each week about questions. There's a lot that comes up. And so we're giving you the tools each week to kind of get through that. And then monthly after that, we're able to keep you on track. So okay, my weight went up 2 pounds, or I'm doing this, I slipped back, I'm now back, doing this habit. We get you back on track. So that's usually the course that we take.
Let's talk BMI really quickly. See, I got you all these different things. I'm sure all this is in the book. So you have to plug the book at the end and look at you. This is the time. This is the time for Kelly to talk, as we have been talking to so many amazing people on this podcast.
Mhm.
But my question for you is BMI. How, how accurate is BMI?
It does not take into account muscle mass
So,
at all.
like me, who's a former professional wrestler, I'm 280 pounds. You don't see I need to lose any weight. Honestly, I'm now finally, because I've been doing yoga, my gut is almost gone now. So there's not much more. And I'm doing all these resistance activities with DDPY yoga that's making me pumped. So I'm sure I'm putting more weight on because I'm building muscle again, but I don't have, I'm really not the fat. So really, that's the hard part of BMI is people who are active with weight. I mean, like lifting weights, working out. How can they fix that? because that's the thing where you'll go and say, "Oh my gosh," you go and say, "You're 280 pounds, 6'10". You are obese. You have to work on specific things.
Well,
Are
again,
you looking at my body? Come on now, go ahead.
the these are numbers and tools that help medically to kind of assess where you might be in the future. However, like you said, it does not take into account any muscle mass at all. So remember that this is just a tool for us to understand as medical professionals. Honestly, it doesn't really relate. So we just finished a weight loss challenge with Syracuse University, and they're actually asking for us to do the BMIs, which I think is very interesting. Um, it is a number, it is a measure. But just like your blood pressure or your cholesterol or anything, these are numbers. They're numbers. Is it the end all be all? No, it is not. But we do have to have certain markers for instance, what qualifies you for certain medications or whatever. So it's just a number. Um, don't get stuck on it. Don't get stuck on it. So we want to, and that's where with nutrition education, we want you to start looking at what are you actually doing? How does your body actually feel? What does your blood work say? Where are you actually not focusing on just one thing?
Yeah. So, and that's the problem. And that's where hope, where we're starting to see lifestyle medicine doctors that are in all practices working together with you, Kelly, to make sure that we're looking at a different way of how we
Mhm.
take care of people's health.
That's right. That's right. And there is a giant food as medicine movement. I mean, it is coming in a tsunami. I
It's
mean,
going to have to.
it's everywhere. You get on any television show. I mean, it is coming. It is coming, and it's exciting to see. I want to be a part of that movement. I want to be, I would love to be in DC and speaking and just where we've been, where we're going, and how powerful food is. Just today, I talked to a diagnostic test out of London that is testing for fatty liver disease, and I said, in almost all these cases, if it's truly from food based, we can reverse it. I've proven
100%.
it over and over. So it's like all of these chronic diseases, I mean, 90% of them are preventable and reversible through nutrition.
And that's your mission. And interesting, who got the Secretary of Education and didn't yet get the nod is Linda McMahon, who I've had on my show 3 months ago. I wonder what's going to happen with the education. Are we going to get to see, especially in education, the days of Arnold Schwarzenegger and focusing on health and all that stuff in schools again? Will we see that again? We will find out. And definitely looking at the cafeterias and school cafeterias and how you have healthy food that still tastes good and get rid of that garbage because the parents still push for the garbage to go into those because the kids complain. Too bad, so sad. Have the best meal possible. It's interesting. Did you ever watch like you're the dietitian for the Colorado Buffaloes and what they eat? It's crazy when they were showing that whole one of the Deion Sanders things. Amazing. Best place you can go, Kelly.
kellyschoice.org. You can find the information there, and definitely Kelly's Choice underscore nutrition. But we are just super excited to see what's going to happen in 25. We started this nonprofit nutrition education for all so that we could get into schools, get me back into teaching. I absolutely love it. I think that this is the moment, this is the time. You can book your dietitian right on kellyschoice.org and get
You
your
might be
own.
going to Washington, D.C. because of Linda McMahon. Now, I do
I
have the connection to the next Secretary of Education. When I heard that, I said, I'm glad Linda got in, but oh my goodness, that was
Well,
a
I'm
pick.
here.
But if they even keep it. But all right, I appreciate it, Kelly. All right, that was a special simulcast, Neil Haley Show, and nutrition education for all guys. Take care.